Welcome to the 2026 Dances with Films NYC here in Union Square. For our viewers at home who have not seen Roof but should, tell us a little bit about the film, then we'll jump right into it.
Great, thanks for having us here. The film Roof is about these two co-workers that get stuck on a rooftop in downtown LA, and it's kind of their struggles to survive while they're on the roof, and ultimately look inward at their own issues in their lives and kind of figure some stuff out. And it's a little bit of a survival drama, thrilling kind of adventure. Do you have anything to add to that one?
It's funny.
Where did the concept of this film come from? Because we see a lot of trapped in elevators, trapped in train cars, but trapped on a roof, which is very, with LA, with you guys having a building boom, is very plausible. So where did the inspiration for the story come from?
It's a funny question, because the inspiration came from, Josh and I worked together for a long time at Bad Robot Productions, and we would always throw ideas around and kind of the what ifs of movies that we wanted to see ourselves that didn't exist. And this kind of came from a thread of an idea from The Hangover with Doug, who gets stuck on the roof. We were always like, what happened to Doug the whole time? You see him at the end of the film, but nothing's ever explained. And that was the smallest seed of an idea. And then if you want to kind of elaborate a little, Josh, on, how it evolved into obviously having two characters and all of that on the roof.
Yeah, the original idea was, let's get a guy up on the roof and then let's spin it out for 90 minutes. And so we wrote the entire script with one man up there. And then we showed it to one of our mentors, Brian Burke, and one of his first comments was, I love the dialogue, I love the concept, but you got to get another person up there, because you cannot have someone do a 90-minute monologue and expect an audience to sit there and wait, watch it. So we started thinking, he's right. We need to have another voice up there, that someone to, be both the antagonist and the friend of our hero. And so that led to, let's find a woman, let's give her own problem that's radically different than his, and let's put two people on a roof together who aren't friends, who don't see life the same way, and then let's let that spin out while we're also having this sort of life and death drama unfolding at the same time.
Talk to me about the dialogue. Your dialogue is very strong. So talk to me about creating that dialogue in your casting to get the cast to do your dialogue.
Do you want to actually talk about the dialogue?
Yeah, dialogue is just the thing you just have to constantly rewrite, and then strip back and strip back and strip back. And we were also lucky that, Asif is a brilliant stand-up comedian. And Sal was secure enough as a director to say, you can also say this the way you think would be better. We trust you. And the same way we trust every other crew member to deliver what, is inside them to the project. So Asif did a lot of improvising. It really helped the script. And whenever you improv, there's something that intrinsically becomes naturalistic about it. But mostly it was just hard work, reading it, listening to the actors, doing chem reads with the actors. Because when you find the right, someone once said, you find the right actor, that's 80% of the work right there. And I feel like we did.
I think I just want to add, because you mentioned about casting specifically, we had a few options on who was interested in this film and coming on board with us, and it was a key moment for us to do table reads for scenes with every actor that was being thought of in different ways, to see where is the chemistry actually living here. Because this film, two characters on a rooftop, you need to believe that chemistry, and you need to be rooting for these guys if you want to care about them by the end of the film. And we knew that going into this. So to me, it was obvious when we had Bella and Asif reading together that this was going to be a dynamic that would work really well. And ultimately, because we shot the film mostly linearly where we could, you really did see their progression as friends on set develop and ultimately get carried through on their performances on the screen as well.
How long did the casting take place?
Casting was pretty quick, I think, if I remember right. I would say, what do you think, like a month or two?
A month or two, yeah.
Yeah, a month or two.
It was another thing we got really lucky with was Angela Young, who had grown up doing big movies with April Webster and had met a lot of actors and had a lot of relationships, was able to just go directly to people for us. It's one of the real challenges of any indie film is, how do I get to talent? There is a barrier between you and them usually, whether it's an agent or a manager. And so having a casting director that had those relationships, it just created like an easy process in terms of access. She was great. She became an associate producer on the film because, again, casting is such a huge part of the success of any film that we wanted to make sure she was recognized for that.
Talk to me about the filming. Where was the roof, and how many days did you guys film?
Sure. It's interesting because initially I always knew we wanted to set the film in Los Angeles, and it's written to be set on a rooftop in Los Angeles. And there's other, derivative things that we care about in films. Like you'll see there's some threads of like Die Hard and other fun things in there. So we knew we wanted to make a Los Angeles film, and that's where it was written for. That being said, we initially were going to shoot on a roof in LA. And for a lot of various reasons, financial and other things, we decided to move production to Knoxville, Tennessee, where we did shoot on a real rooftop. We also knew that we wanted to shoot on a real rooftop and not use blue screen or green screen for the entirety of the film. So I wanted a real roof with the crew and the cast up there making this movie together, almost like we were, in a way, trapped on the roof as well, like the characters in the film. So we ended up going to Knoxville, Tennessee. The Film Commission office there was great, working super well with us. We had a lot of good access to talent that's in that area, and we utilized that. And then we shot over the course of 12 days, shooting days, over I think 3 weeks. And then got in, shot 10-hour days, shooting 9 pages a day. It was really intense, but I take the credit to the preparation that the DP and myself had done to know exactly what we wanted leading up, and then also a lot of that lies on the actors knowing their scenes, knowing their lines, and kind of really being ready on the day.
How do you deal with the challenges of being on a roof, like helicopters and airplanes and weather and wind and stuff like that? How did you guys overcome that?
There were a lot of challenges. The movie takes place, it's supposed to be very hot in Los Angeles. And at the time in Knoxville, it was like monsooning nonstop. So there was a lot of watching out for lightning, the producers and the AD being very aware of the schedule and how we could pull things off, and when do we need to hold indoor scenes that take place in the office or the bathroom or the parking garage, and kind of as we have good weather, shoot those scenes out and keep in our back pocket some other locations that we could say we're shut down from the roof for 3 hours, let's go down and shoot while it's raining outside. So it was a lot of puzzle piecing around and just getting lucky in some areas and just being ready for when a softball, hard ball is getting thrown at us.
Yeah, the lightning was the real killer, because the rules around lightning in with SAG was when there was a lightning strike within 10 miles of the set, we had to shut down for 30 minutes. And we could not start up again until there had not been a lightning strike for 30, within 10 miles. This is the summer in Tennessee. There's nothing but lightning in the afternoon.
Exactly.
So it was a real challenge, and obviously it was not, we were going to keep the cast safe. So we're constantly scrambling in and out of the roof. I learned that there are no elevators to roofs. Every building, we've scouted like dozens of buildings. The last floor is always stairs. And so we're constantly just going up and down stairs when there's a lightning strike. And then the heat was just rough. But again, it added to we all felt like we were in the movie. And that was just a huge help, I think, for everybody.
What was that aha moment that you knew you had it?
That's for you, buddy.
Can you clarify, like, in what moment do you mean?
Yeah, I mean, when did you know you had this? You had this conception in your head. You've been living with this for a while. You're shooting. When did you have that moment that, yes, we have what I wanted? Was it during shooting? Was it post-production? When did you know that you had what you wanted?
I always knew that we were going to get what we wanted eventually, right? And that's kind of the whole goal of this process was we knew we wanted to make a feature film. We knew we were capable of making a feature film, and everything else along the entire process was how do we just make it the best version of what it can be. So that goes down to getting the money and how much money do we have to actually make this movie, getting the locations, getting the actors. I think believing in the things that are important and sticking to those things when it comes to script and character and what we want to see on the screen at the end of the day, that's kind of what was our guiding light through the whole piece. As far as when did I actually feel like we have it, I would say the biggest worry I had through the entire process is, do we not care about these characters by the end of the movie? Therefore, maybe the payoff doesn't land. I think once we got to the point where we had the rough cut assembled and we saw Bella and Asif's performance together, mixed with John Pope's cinematography and Julian's editing, I think at that point we knew that we had all the pieces we needed needed to make the film as great as it can be, and that it would work. And it was a little bit of weight lifted, even though we had a lot of visual effects work, over 200 shots in the movie to get done. That was more, the practicality of getting it done, not something's not working and what are we going to do from the story or the characters.
What did you want to add something?
I have just a slightly different answer. For me, it was when we hired Bella and Asif, because then I felt like we have the ingredients. Now it's up to us. Before, if you don't have the ingredients, then it's tough. It's hard to make a souffle out of bad ingredients. But once we had them, I was like, this is going to work. And maybe that was naive, but I just knew it at that moment.
I think Josh is including me as one of the ingredients. Yeah. I had to prove to myself, I think, which is why it took a little bit longer to get to the same, perspective.
What did you learn about yourself professionally and personally while making this film?
I learned professionally that everyone on a film set thinks differently creatively, and the guiding point of being a director of a film, especially one of this scale, is to have everyone march in the same direction towards what is that vision that you have, what is that best version of what we can make, and understanding that everybody thinks in a different way, so the way you can progress people either on the crew or in the cast or in any means is going to be slightly different along the way. So I would say that's kind of from a professional sense. From a personal sense, I think it was a little bit eye-opening to the amount of time, energy, and effort it takes to make a feature film. Not that I underestimated that, but it's a real process, and you got to make sure you're making a film that you believe in and you stand behind, and a story that you think needs to be out there in the world, because it will consume you to do so.
For me, it was really about you need to be able to quickly make decisions, and you need to be able to live with them and move on and be thoughtful about everything and not feel like there is a baked-in answer that you have to follow, but to really look at every moment and decide, are we doing this the right way right now, or is there another way that we could think about doing this? And we made a lot of non-traditional choices in how we approach the film financially, creatively, logistically, and it got us to here. So, ergo, all those decisions must have been right, because if they hadn't been, we wouldn't be sitting here. So I feel like just trusting yourself and being willing to make a big choice it can be really hard, and there's a lot of pressure to not do that, because everyone's afraid of change. But to be willing to embrace it, I think it really is what helped us push the movie, to now.
What does it mean to have this film here on the world stage, here at Dances with Films?
I mean, it's a huge honor to be playing the world premiere here at Dances, especially as the closing night film. I think we're most excited just to, we've seen this film 100 times. It's exciting to see people who haven't seen the film have access to it, and hopefully, beyond this platform, be able to get as many people that want to, have access and be able to see the film as they can. This is a huge honor to be here with Dances with Films, to be showing it out into the world.
What are you guys reading? What are you watching? What's inspiring you right now?
Sorry, say it again?
What are you reading? What are you watching? What's inspiring you right now?
I'm watching what everybody's watching right now. The films that are coming out. A lot of times I try to dig deep into cinema history and go back, watch films, that are, from the 50s, 60s, 70s. See, there's things that are kind of inspiring to me. It's a difficult question because I just try to consume as much content as I can and see if there's ways that I can elevate the ideas and the stories that I want to tell.
I'll give you two very specific answers, one of which I'm proud of and one of which I'm a little embarrassed about. Pluribus, love Pluribus, super intellectual, challenging, show on Apple. And then the sort of like soft food, the sort of guilty pleasure is Landman. I don't know, man. I don't even like any of their Taylor Sheridan shows, but Landman is like, the catnip for me. So I love those two shows. They both show a different way of approaching art, right? And they can be equally satisfying. Not all art has to be high art. Some of it can be low art, or there really is no definition of art other than, exposing yourself to as wide a variety of material so that you see that there are many ways to express yourself, and they're all equally valid ultimately.
Lastly, what are your websites? What are your social handles? How can we share in your successes?
Sure, yeah. My socials, you can find me on Instagram, which is just Salvatore_Sciortino_. Aside from that, there's obviously IMDb and things like that you can look me up on. But I don't know if you have more.
Mine, again, I'm a little embarrassed by. Look, I thought of this Instagram name a long time ago. That's all I'm going to say. It is Hero of the Stupid, which I stole from the Howard Stern show, which I used to listen to religiously when I was a kid. And Hero of the Stupid is my IG. And then, IMDb, all their stuff. I'm on there. It's just Josh Tate.
Congratulations on such a great film.
Thank you. We really appreciate it.